Welcome to the Digital PR Show. You want the future of marketing and PR? You've come to the right place. We're spilling all the secrets on what it really takes to crush it in PR, digital marketing, and agency life. No jargon and no gatekeeping. Whether you're building a brand, scaling a biz, or just here for the hot takes, we've got you covered. Let's get digital.
Welcome to the Digital PR Show. Baggy jeans are back from the 1990s. Mullets have returned to hairstyles everywhere, including myself. I'm Ryan O'Donnell, by the way. And digital PR is starting to reflect trends that were crucial, important, that have sort of went the way of the dodo in between the internet's explosion and now the AI revolution. And so today we're going to be discussing with two experts in this field why what's old is new again, why digital PR is starting to pivot back to older strategies to get people seen, to have brands matter, and to be prevalent in a absolutely flooded market. So I'm joined today by Christina and Peter Pilarski. How are you, my friends? How are you feeling today?
You said two experts, but really it's three experts, Ryan. You're an expert too.
Oh, thank you. I try not to sell myself too much. But it is an interesting place to start because I am new in the application of PR. I've been surrounded by PR for my entire career, but now in the actual execution side. But you two have been able to see the growth and change in this industry firsthand. And now you're at like probably one of the most exciting periods in PR's entire history, probably since like the invention of the telephone and the internet. And so what can you tell me about how things used to be done when it came to brand building and why it worked back then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe I'll start and I'll let Christina jump in. But traditionally, public relations and sort of doing all of the traditional things that companies did to make their brand visible was the only avenue. So, I'm going to go way back in terms of even things, I'm talking like way, way, way back in terms of just going to the town square and yelling from some kind of podium about whatever it is you're trying to sell people on, right? I mean, kind of, just getting in there and helping people understand and educate and trying to convince them as to, what you're selling is good for them. That's really old school. And obviously PR has always been an important part of a lot of companies' success. So, even traditional PR. I mean, so when a lot of people think about PR, they think about media relations, but for me, it's always been a lot broader than that. So it could be the community event that you're doing. It could be the staff event that you're doing, right? So it's always been sort of multidimensional for me. And it's really just showing up and leading and creating confidence and being visible, all those types of things. And for me personally, I've felt over the last 15 years that brands have gotten lazy because it's become really easy to show up digitally and show up with more of a marketing focus. And I think that keyword SEO and digital ads and all that stuff just became easy, and you didn't have to sort of show up as a leader. You didn't have to sort of get out of your comfort zone and speak and do all those things. And I feel like now with AI coming in and semantic search and all of that keyword stuff is disappearing. And quite frankly, I always like to tell people in today's era, we need to think about creating content and creating value and creating authenticity and trust in ways that AIs can't do it, right? And how can you do that? Well, it's humans showing up and being humans. AI will never replace that. And so, when I think about kind of the evolution of PR, we're back to being that person at the town square and standing on our soapbox and trying to convince people that what we're doing is good and that they should consider our brand, right? So I don't know, Christina, how you view that, but that's the evolution from way back to where I see us going again.
I feel like I'm gonna go super nerdy on this. So my background is communications. That's where all my I was gonna say all my degrees. It makes me sound like I have 100 degrees, but it's where my studies were. And one of my favorite theorist around communications was Marshall McLuhan. And so technological determinism, technology comes and changes the way we communicate. And then you have kind of the antithesis to that, which was social constructionism. So we change the way we communicate, and therefore it dictates a new technology. And I have been thinking about this a lot in probably the last 6 months, because truly, I think, and I've been making these comparisons, Ryan, I don't think you and I have had this conversation, but I always make these comparisons between AI and social media. Like when social media started coming on the scene, like 2008, you have like Obama using it, really changing the game in terms of politics. Hyper local for us, you have Nenshi, who was able to really capitalize on this social media thing. And then you bring it into the corporate world, and like social media changed the game corporately. It did take some jobs, but it did create new jobs. And so when we think about brand building, I almost think that there is this really interesting opportunity that always comes up for PR when technology changes. So, okay, all of a sudden, the .com era and everyone needs a website. Well, it wasn't about marketing first. It was about showing my brand, and all of a sudden I need colors because I'm going to show up on a website and I need some photos and I need to tell my story. And okay, that's PR. That's owned PR, owned media. Then you have social media comes in the game. Well, it wasn't paid social media. It wasn't marketing to begin with. It was organic. It was, what's my Facebook profile? What's my page? And that's your personal brand, whether it's you proper or your business, right? There was this whole need to now use PR to build those pieces. And then now, fast forward again to this new technology, AI, where all of a sudden we need to fuel large language models, where Google changes, where social media algorithms change. All of a sudden, again, QPR. So I don't know. If I went back to school, I feel like this is where I would maybe focus my next thesis on this whole proof that Marshall McLuhan, I have my little Marshall McLuhan fan club t-shirt, but like, he's right? A new technology dictates some change in the way we communicate. And, as of right now, your personal brand, if you want to show up in these new technologies, you need some PR, just like you did with social, just like you did in the .com era. And then, you go all the way back to what Peter was talking about in terms of the town square. Well, absolutely. If you look credible, if you're saying credible things, if your key messages are on point, people are going to go and have that conversation with you. And again, there's your own media. I do think that's the interesting connection is, owned. I think that like people often go to earned right away, which absolutely still super important. But there is this like almost like as new technology kicks off, owned PR becomes this like front runner.
Well, and I was just going to say that the digital part of the digital PR is now that the town square has become a digital town square, right? And that's the interesting part about all of this, right? So whereas, we used to meet and congregate in literally a physical town square, now it might be, depending on where your audience is, your town square is dependent on that, right? And so, I'm going to use a podcast as an example. Obviously, if your audience is on a certain podcast that's really popular about whatever topic that you serve, the town square might be that popular podcast, right? And that's the place to sort of give your thought leadership. And I'm going to just take a second, Ryan, because I literally posted a blog yesterday that really aligns with what Christina just said. And the blog title was, it was social media and now it's AI. I'm going to just read just the first couple lines of it because I think it's kind of really relevant to what Christina said. So I said, there was a time when social media felt like a revolution. It gave everybody a voice. It broke the monopoly of traditional media. It connected communities, amplified campaigns, and even reshaped destinations. And then quietly, and then all at once, it changed us. We learned that the very algorithm designed to connect us could also manipulate us, that engagement doesn't always equal truth, that technology doesn't just extend human behavior, it shapes it. Now we stand at another technological tipping point. This time it's not social media, it's AI. This time the stakes are higher because it's not only changing how we communicate, it's changing how we think. And I wanted to share that because if I think about thought leadership and digital PR and the AI revolution going forward, this whole piece that I wrote is all about how leaders need to start showing up. And the question is, are you going to let the AI shape how your team thinks? Or are you going to shape how the AI thinks and perceives your brand, right? And so that's, to me, if I think about the digital PR, it's like leaders need to start showing up. They need to start sharing their expertise, their knowledge, their wisdom, right, in kind of multimodal platforms, in video and audio, whatever way possible, so that those AIs can be shaped by that thinking, not the other way around, right? And so we're in this interesting kind of world where, like, all of a sudden we have these tools that not only shape our attention, like, or optimize our attention, but they optimize our cognition. And so if I think about the future, and right now everybody's using kind of ChatGPT and regular large language models, but I can see a future very soon where every single company internally has their own AI model built on their own internal knowledge. And so the work of leaders right now to really shape the thinking and get all of the thoughts out of their heads and down into on paper, into videos, into whatever, so that they can feed those large language models, at least at a minimum, for their internal purposes, so that that sort of strategic thinking and that sort of their vision becomes part of the learning of the large language model is so critical. And then obviously broader than that, obviously trying to shape those AI models and what they produce in terms of thought, if you will, that others rely on, is critically important, right? So you're going to have, in my opinion, you're going to have these brands and these leaders who get this and are going to put themselves out there, and they're going to shape these AIs. And so people are going to go and search, AI tools, and it's going to give people answers, and people are just going to take that as the truth. And so the question is, do you want to be a leader who doesn't show up and is quiet, and you're going to disappear? You're not going to be, nobody's going to find you and know what your truth is and what your perspective is, versus are you going to be the leader that's at the forefront, shaping essentially the knowledge that these models are built on. So, like, the stakes are really high right now, right? This is a new game.
It's interesting because I think, if we look at Duolingo recently, right, their CEO comes out and says, we're going all AI. And now their entire social media base, their huge cult-like following, abandons them because of not so much the choice there, because I imagine if the CEO had said, we're going to be using artificial intelligence to further our business rather than I'm replacing the entire business with AI, there probably would not have been that same level of rejection.
Yeah.
But the wording of just that one post destroyed years of branding. And now they've completely had to hit the reset button because they did not really think through the best way to communicate and be a leader, as you said, in embracing artificial intelligence. So how do these businesses, if they're thinking of adapting to artificial intelligence and using it in their brand, if they're thinking about how they can be leaders, how do they take the right steps to do this without breaking everything they've already built?
What I think is interesting there, and again, obviously we're talking about PR, so it's all going to come back to PR, but like there is this importance of key messaging. Like, I will even chalk it into CIPR. We use AI.
Yeah.
So, we're using, an AI enabled platform right now to be able to do this. So again, it is in the way you communicate it. I think if I went to any prospect right now, given kind of the still level of suspicion around AI with the average person walking down the street, and they go, use AI. Well, I thought you were PR expert, right? Like, I think there is this immediate, hesitation to the whole thing. But again, with the right key message and the right explanation behind it, we're an AI empowered agency that is using AI to be smarter about how we pitch, be smarter about how we locate what we need to do to be able to deliver more, to be able to use tools to bring your company to the next level. Again, it does come back all to this messaging. And I feel like that's where, going back to Peter, what you said around this kind of switch between marketing and communications, right? Marketing, you lead with the snappy this is probably the Duolingo, right? They lead with the snappy, exciting, sexy go. It's about short-term gains. It's about, the short-term win. Whereas we're in this era of you need to tell a whole story. You need to develop a relationship. We know that millennials and Gen Zs are value-based consumers. We know that they aren't necessarily making quick decisions because of the economy. We know that the story matters now, the people matter. And so to be able to bring those things to light become really important. So again, I just think we're in this, Peter, I liked your comment around like people have been lazy, because it's true, right? Like, oh, I'm going to slap $3,000 on some Google ads and I know I'll show up and there we go. And I can be your number one painting contractor and be found right away. Easy. Or I can show up first and be the winery that you visit because I'm the closest to you. I mean, it's that, I don't know if you guys remember that meme that was floating around a while ago, but it was like the soup place that was called like Soups Near Me because
Oh my. It's a 5-head level play right there. That's genius.
Right. So like, but from like a SEO marketing perspective, soups near me, and what is showing up? Well, soups near me are showing up. So again, now gone is this time where I'm not necessarily using Google to search soups near me, but I may be opening ChatGPT and I'm having the conversation as I'm driving in my car going, hey, ChatGPT, I feel like soup today. Can you tell me, I'm battling some spring allergies. I'm in Northwest Calgary. Like, what would be a really great soup? And you know what? It's probably first going to tell you like how to make a really great soup.
Yep.
Right. And so again, it's like not outsmarting the machine, but again, it's like using storytelling to get smart. And yeah, maybe if I am the soups near me, I'm going to write a great blog and a story about how we create the best soups and here's what we do. And, I don't have time to make the soup, but hey, who wrote this article? ChatGPT. Oh, it was soups near me. And it's like, okay, how do I get there?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll just say that I think that kind of how do leaders need to sort of show up in this conversation. And you mentioned Duolingo. Another actually similar story came out of a company called Klarna recently, where they essentially was, we are going to have a AI only, not only, but very AI driven workforce. We're going to change the whole game, and now they're hiring like crazy because they realize that humans still want to talk to humans, as it turns out. And so, I mean, I think it's really important. It's really easy to kind of get ahead of yourself in this whole hype cycle of AI, and it's really important. And but you really need to be, I think, for leaders, there's never been a more important time to be deliberate and intentional, honestly, in how they show up. And I'm going to actually talk about the leading companies like the Googles and the OpenAIs and the all the companies that at the leading edge of all of this stuff, kind of developing this technology, and let's just sort of look at how they're doing it, right? And you have you have guys like Sam Altman who literally just tweet stuff, and those tweets become kind of like almost like the new press releases. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, we're shipping something cool, and all of a sudden 2 days later, and you know what, they are using blogs, and then they're using videos to explain, and they're using you know what I mean? It's like they have product leaders, and they have different team members showing up and sort of demonstrating and explaining, and then they're also very transparent in terms of like, so their philosophy is ship quick and iterate, which now Google is doing as well, right? And they're very transparent about, hey, we're just putting this out as a test, and we're getting your feedback, and we're going to build. So it's like a completely transparent method, and it's very different than anything we've seen before in terms of companies just keeping all their cards close and then doing this big release once everything's all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed and everything's perfect. It's like, that's no longer kind of the method. Now it's just sort of like, hey, we're just trying to figure this out together. We're being transparent about how we're doing it. We're getting your feedback. They're building community, right? They're building community. They're building trust. They're building loyal followers, right? And that's really, if I think about that, that is what every brand needs to be doing one way or the other. I mean, it's different for every brand, obviously, but right. And so if I'm a construction company, that might look different, but you're still needing to build community, build trust, in authentic ways, and leaders need to step up and play a big authentic role. So I just think that for me, like, I've never seen a time more where it's like Sasha Sundar Pichai and you know, Elon Musk and Sam Altman. It's like these are like the leaders of these giant companies are like at the forefront of all of this, right? So there's almost like I mean, there's a bit of a cult of personality around all of those guys, but I think that the leaders building their personal brands and leading and being out there and being vulnerable sometimes, right? It's like, hey, you know what? Like OpenAI got in trouble because they released a model that you know, was telling everybody how amazing they were. Sycophancy. I don't know if you guys were following that whole saga. Christina kept telling me about how her AI was telling her how amazing everything she was doing. Meanwhile, there was all this like controversy about basically the AIs that were like essentially telling everybody everything they were doing was awesome no matter what. They kind of screwed up and they kind of made some mistakes in the way they kind of, you know, adjusted the AI, and then they sort of owned it, brought it back, said we're going to fix it, and it was okay, right? And because they have done such a good job, these leading companies do such a good job at digital PR, because they've just built brand trust and brand loyalty, and sort of when they make a mistake and then they just own their mistake quickly and move on, people are willing to forgive, right? And I think that's just such a good example and a good model that every company needs to think about following, right? And that's how leaders need to show up. I think authenticity is probably the most important leadership trait now. And listen, we're all in this world right now of nobody knows how this is all going to end. And so, you know what I mean? We're talking about companies like Klarna, we're talking about Duolingo, and it's like, yeah, they made some mistakes and those mistakes cost them. And it's about how quickly do you own your mistake and move on, because we're all experimenting in this new world together. We're all trying, nobody knows the answers, right? And so I think, to me, the way, you know, leaders need to show up is like that, right? And you know, when I teach AI kind of adoption, this is a bit beyond PR, but it sort of aligns, is like, you need to articulate your philosophy, your AI philosophy, or your communications philosophy, and you need to understand what your philosophy is. And if your philosophy is, hey, listen, we're going to be super transparent, we're going to own mistakes, but we're going to move fast, and we're going to make some mistakes along the way, then that's a whole philosophy, and that's a whole communications method that you're going to accept and sort of move on with. And so I think for me, it's like, gone are the days of this, you know, we're going to spend 6 months sort of building all this stuff and perfecting everything, and it's going to be amazing, and we're going to come up with this huge thing, and it's just going to, you know, it's like, that's over. And so it's sort of just ongoing, authentic kind of iteration as you go. And yeah, that's kind of,
Yeah, I think
the key.
honesty is huge right now. People just you know, don't beat around the bush. Just
Yeah.
be honest, because there's a lot of leftover frustration from the pandemic with like you know, anger with big corporations, and there's frustration that comes from just the state of the economic of the world, that people will look to those who are incredibly successful and have those feelings. When you talk about the authenticity there, because Duolingo's response was they deleted everything off TikTok. They purged their entire account, right? Rather than, yeah, that was not a great way to do that. And
Yeah.
just because these are the conversations that we as humans wish we were having more often with ourselves. We wish we could all be more honest and own up to our mistakes. And so when we see a large company or a leader take on that, it's refreshing, and it also is more human than just a statement that looks like it was thrown together by
Press
60
release,
people in a
yeah.
boardroom, than
Right.
just a press release. Because, and even the way we're doing press releases has changed. But yeah, from coming into this industry as it is now, it's been fascinating to see that communications and PR is so much more. Well, if it's good, it's so much more than just a press release.
Yeah.
It's everything that goes along with it. And I guess, how do you then build your brand into these AI networks and into these strategies here? How can you sit around a table with your board? Let's say you want to launch into this and say, I'm going to be authentic. We're going to change how we do this. We're going to adapt to how fast the world is changing. How do you actually build yourself into these frameworks for it to be successful?
I mean, this kind of little catchphrase is gonna become my new catchphrase, but like, PR is no longer about perfection. PR is about authenticity, right? It's not about, and I do think, like, I remember when I was at CAP, sitting in a boardroom, and okay, we need to do a press release, and okay, we need to do a media event and get all the media in this room, and how many senior executives and hands needed to touch a press release to make it perfect to get it across the line. And it was a thing, and we had to. That's the way we were living. And now, to me, it is not about perfection anymore. It is about authenticity and really, like, and maybe this is left over from marketing, but there is this like speed to lead. I mean, Ryan, we had an interesting situation with a client this week where there was an announcement that was coming. We knew it was coming. It was about air access. We knew that, the big major corporations that were involved were going to come out with the announcement right away. So our recommendation back to the client was, if we're going to say something, we got to say something soon. And then what happened? Big company got something out. Now it's an interesting story. So you had a lineup of interested news outlets wanting to tell the story, but the client was slow to kind of move forward and get some momentum there. And again, it's not a bad thing. They're still going to get their story out, and we're still going to help them tell it. But again, now there is this like, okay, we don't need to be perfect in the messaging. We have a good brand story. Client has a good brand, good people behind it. So there is now this kind of speed to tell the story first, or maybe it's not even tell the story first, tell your story first, becomes so important. And I do think that's hard. I mean, another kind of personal example, Peter and one of our boys yesterday was recording he's applying for something. So he was recording a little. I'm sitting in the basement recording him. Oh, take 3, take 14, take whatever. And I said to him, don't worry about it. Just speak. Just go. It doesn't matter. Be authentic. Be you. Gets it going. And again, to me, it's this. That's why I never take multiple takes of myself. The first one is always the most authentic. It's me speaking from my heart. Yeah, I can do it 40 times, but now the other female CEO has put out her opinion before me. And so, right, like, it's just this interesting, again, speed over perfection, which is old school, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say it's interesting because, again, I'm going to read a little bit from my my blog yesterday. But this blog is actually about AI adoption. But I think everything in here that is related to AI applies to kind of the new world of PR as well, or showing up as a leader. But I sort of just this snippet here. It's a call to courage. This is the work of our time. So it says you don't need to be an AI expert. You don't need to be a PR expert, right? But you do need to be a PR aware leader. So you need to understand your personal philosophy, your personal kind of comfort zone, right? You need to set a vision and some values for guiding how you're going to kind of show up. You need to build space for open, ethical conversations and, open, transparent conversations with your team and with yourself about how, again, you're going to show up. And you need to lead with clarity and not fear, right? I think that honestly, like, it's just, and then after that, I have a line, let's not sleepwalk into the future, right? So it's like, you just need to start being mindful and thoughtful. And I mean, again, I'm going to pick on Sam Altman because I think he does this so well. He's decided that his PR approach generally is sort of like this, at least on social media, he likes to put out these cryptic messages every once in a while. And it just sort of gets everybody talking about, what is Sam talking about? Oh my God. You know what I mean? And it's so clever. And then he goes from this cryptic message. And then when they ship something out, then he's communicating in full sentences, right? So that's just the approach he's decided. And it sort of feels authentic. It feels very authentic to me. Obviously it feels authentic to him and it works for him. Right. And so, yeah. You just sort of gotta sort of decide what your way is, and then just try to be consistent, and, I mean, I'm going to pick on another guy, Gary V. Interestingly, I saw a video today that he posted. Obviously he's chosen sort of just showing up on video and being as authentic as possible. That's his PR approach. Right. And he's incredibly good at it. And, he kind of gave this great little video today where he was actually talking about the importance of video, and, how you don't have to overthink it. And he basically was like, okay, I'm going to give you an example. I'm a brand new landscaping company, and I'm going to shoot a little video to my friends in my contact list. And, here's my video. And it's like, hey, I just started a landscaping company. I'm reaching out to everybody on my list just to let you know that I'm doing this. I'm not reaching out to ask you to hire me, but if you are looking for somebody that, for help with landscaping, I'm here to help. And if you know anybody looking for landscaping, please send them my way. And it was like, that was it. And I think his point was really poignant for me, because it's just like, I think people overthink things a lot. And he was just saying, you know what, just show up, be authentic, be honest. You know what I mean? Start with your friends list. You don't have to have some fancy whatever, and just start going, right? And I think, and he's very consistent about this too, because it's just like, I think a lot of people just think like it has to be perfect, and I can't start until I got it all, sorted or whatever. And it's like, no, you just got to start. You just got to show up and start doing it, and you'll hone your skill. You'll find your voice over time, just by doing, right? I mean, that's what we're doing with these podcasts, right? We're just getting out there, just sharing our views, just doing, right? And
Just
I think
doing it.
what Christina just said, what we like to do now sometimes is just show up to meetings with clients with Riverside, and just record with the tool and have them talk. And they're not even necessarily doing a PR piece, but they might have some incredible nuggets of wisdom that we can use. And I think because we're not telling them that it's like a formal media interview and they must be prepared, is what is actually the secret sauce of making it work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even when you talk about being over prepared, if you think about like a landscaping, people just used to put a flyer on a post in their neighborhood that said,
Yeah.
I have a lawnmower, call me, I'll come mow your lawn.
Right.
That's it. There's no giant press release with here's all my clients. It's just, that's how we used to do it. And I think what we're now seeing is that we can take that approach, that genuine, here's what I offer.
Yeah.
Give me a call and see. You can take that approach again in this world, and it is so refreshing.
It really
so
is.
refreshing. Yeah.
Nice.
So next time we chat, I think we're going to take a bigger focus on what steps you can actually take for building this brand authority and what that all looks like, which I'm excited to get your thoughts on, and looking forward to it. But I appreciate your insights as always. It's great conversation. It's great brain food for me at the start of a day.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, everyone.
Well, there you have it. That's a wrap on this episode of the Digital PR Show, where the future is digital and so are we. Make sure you subscribe or catch us on socials at CIPR Comms or on the web at CIPRcommunications.com. Talk soon.